Hello, Deep Six Wrestling fans and Fizzgig from the Dark Crystal. This is going to be another episode of Glorious or Rotten Rewind. I'm your host, the Glorious Robbie Rotten, and this episode is going to focus on WrestleMania 11, which took place on April 2nd, 1995, from the Hartford Civic Center in Hartford, Connecticut. And I can personally vouch for this arena in a negative way by saying I don't like it. I'm surprised they ever had a WrestleMania here. If you've ever been there, the location is very strange. It's like in the middle of the city, but like if you look at it from the outside, you don't even know that it's an arena. It looks like a bank or something. It's weird. But anyway, they had like an opening sequence here that was kind of like the title credits of like a sitcom, where it showed the wrestlers with like famous people. It was really bizarre. It was like Jonathan Taylor Thomas from Home Improvement and I don't know, a bunch of other random people, and it was pretty weird. Oh man, I don't even know what to think about it. You'd have to just see it to understand. And America the Beautiful was sung by a Special Olympian. It never said her name. It just said that she was a Special Olympian. She had a really good singing voice, though. It was very operatic in style, which isn't usually my cup of tea, but it was nice. It was a cool gesture to see. So, without further ado, let's jump right into the show. The first match on the card is the pretty random team of the British Bulldog and Lex Luger. They both came out with like the American and the English flag versus the Blue Brothers, Eli and Jacob, with Uncle Zebekiah, who you may recognize as either Zeb Coulter or Dutch Mantel. And this match was really forgettable. Nothing happened here that was any good. It was not very good action. The match started with Luger and Bulldog both going for like body slams, and Bulldog hits his, and then Luger kind of like stumbles and botches a little bit and slams a little bit onto the other blue brother. It was pretty awkward, very clumsy. Action here wasn't good, like I said, and the faces get the win when Bulldog hits a sunset flip on one of the blues and gets the pin. And this match just wasn't good. I'm going to give it a rotten. There was nothing really special here. No good action at all. And these two teams didn't mesh. When I saw the Blue Brothers facing these two, I just knew. Ugh, I wasn't looking forward to it. The second match of the night was the Intercontinental Championship match between champion Jeff Jarrett and his challenger, Razor Ramon. Jarrett had the roadie in his corner, who you may know is the Road Dog Jesse James. Shout out to the Dogster. I promise I will make your tug of war video. I just don't know when yet. It's coming. And Razor had the 1-2-3 Kid in his corner, who was also another DX member going forward, X-Pac. Kind of weird how that worked out. And yeah, there was a lot of solid back and forth action here. There was good storytelling, good psychology, good chemistry. The big story of the match was just Jarrett being like a real cowardly heel and kind of 1-2-3 Kid making sure that he didn't do anything that he wasn't supposed to do, really, being like an enforcer of sorts. Kind of weird because he's a smaller guy, but you know. I really enjoyed this match for what it was, though the finish kind of left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth because it was a DQ. Razor had Jeff Jarrett up for the Razor's Edge, and then the roadie just came in the ring and attacked him. So, Razor wins by DQ, and Jarrett retains the belt. I mean, it was fine. It was a good match, but it could have been something special with a few more minutes and a clean finish. So, pretty good match. This probably should have kicked off the card instead of the opener, but what can you do, Oh, and there was another thing, like, they had these photographers straight at ringside, like, leaning up against the ring. It was very distracting and very bizarre. It was like this throughout the whole night. I don't know what that was all about. I'm assuming this is just for this WrestleMania. I can't see this being a trend. So, I don't know. Pretty weird. Next up, we have King Kong Bundy versus The Undertaker. And The Undertaker is back this year. He was missing from WrestleMania 10 because he was buried alive by Yokozuna at the 1994 Royal Rumble. So I guess that was a storyline. They just didn't have him at WrestleMania 30. Or WrestleMania, oh my god, WrestleMania 30. WrestleMania 10 because he was buried alive. He had ascended into heaven. He has Paul Bearer, of course, and Bundy has Ted DiBiase. He's part of the $1 Million Corporation, which they're really selling at this point. And, oh my god, why do they keep sticking Undertaker with these big, slow guys that really aren't good? It's such a shame, because Undertaker's really starting to come into his own as a worker here. But he couldn't save this, you know. There's really not much he could do. And they had this whole story played out where DiBiase had the urn, and then in the middle of the match, Undertaker got it back and gave it to Paul Bearer, and then later on in the match, Kama, the Ultimate Fighting Machine, who went on to become the Godfather, and was formerly Papa Shango, actually, too, came out and got the urn back and gave it to DiBiase, and then they left. So the whole match was just kind of like about the urn, and there really wasn't a lot of good action. I mean, Undertaker did what he could, but there wasn't much he could do. He wins with a diving clothesline on King Kong Bundy because he can't get Bundy up for a choke slam or a tombstone because the guy's too slow and immobile, you know? So Undertaker at least gets the win and extends his streak to 4-0 at this point. And hopefully moving forward, they're going to start giving him better opponents. I really hope I can stop bashing on his matches because it's not his fault. But this one's going to have to get a rotten because, again, it really wasn't good. Rotten. I'm so sorry, Taker. I love you. Next up, we have the WWF Tag Team Championship match between the champions, the Smoking Guns, Billy and Bart, another member of DX for the future in Billy Gunn. There they all are. They're all here, actually, except for Triple H is not on the card. So, pretty weird. And China, of course, but she wasn't here yet. Versus the tag team of Owen Hart and his mystery partner, Yokozuna, which makes sense because he, obviously Yokozuna beat his brother Bret at WrestleMania 9, and Owen still has some animosity towards Bret, so he wants somebody like that. It makes sense. Good storytelling. And Mr. Fuji and Jim Cornette are with Yokozuna. And on commentary, we got something from Jerry Lawler that I thought was really funny. He said, "The world ain't seen thighs like that since the Brontosaurus died out." About Yokozuna. Terrible. But I thought it was kind of funny. Solid action in this match. The Guns were pretty good. And Owen Hart was fantastic. And Yokozuna was good in spurts. He used to be a lot better, but he put on a lot of weight. So he was really struggling. But, he tried. And it was solid for what it was. The heels get the win here when Yokozuna hits a bonsai drop on Billy Gunn and tags in Owen, who gets the pin. And 1, 2, 3, Owen Hart wins his first championship in WWF with the Tag Team Championship with Yokozuna. So, nothing offensive here. Solid match. It could have been better if it were a different partner, I'm sure. But solid overall, I think. And next up, we have a submission match between Bret the Hitman Hart and Bob Backlund with Rowdy Roddy Piper as a special guest referee. And this dates back to, I believe, Survivor Series, because Bob Backlund is the one that beat Bret Hart for the championship by making him submit when I think his mother threw in the towel at the beckoning of Owen. So there's still a rivalry going on there between Bret and Bob. And you know what? I saw this on paper and I was like, oh, this could be really good. But this wasn't actually a submission match. This was an I Quit match before they actually had the term of I Quit match, because the only way to win was by the other person saying I quit. It wasn't actually like a submission match where you have to be submitted. So, honestly, Roddy Piper, I love the guy, but he was checking on the competitors way too much. It was like every 10 seconds he was like, "What do you say? What do you say?" with the mic in their face. And, how often is that before that gets old? So I really feel like the stipulation got in the way of what could have been a really cool match, but it wasn't terrible. I mean, Bret and Bob are good and they worked hard, but there just wasn't that much they could do with this. So stipulation definitely got in the way. Bret wins with Bob Backlund's finishing move, the crossface chicken wing, and gets his win and moves on from Bob Backlund. So, I mean, it could have been so much better. It's such a shame. These two are definitely worthy of a better match than this stupid I Quit submission match. Whatever. Nothing you can do about it now. It's too late, What can you do? Next up, we had what should have been the main event of the night, but wasn't. The WWF Championship match between the champion Diesel with Pamela Anderson and the Royal Rumble winner from 1995, Shawn Michaels with Jenny McCarthy. Part of the Royal Rumble winning stipulation was that Pamela Anderson was supposed to walk Shawn Michaels to the ring and be at ringside for him, but she decided to go with Diesel instead, so he got Jenny McCarthy. And Shawn really sold hard for Diesel early on in the match and made him look like $1 million. And you know what? There's a lot of fun action, great spots, just really, really fun stuff for the first half of the match. And then there came a spot where Diesel ran into the post, and then he sold his ribs on the outside for way too long, probably 2 or 3 minutes, where he just sat outside selling, and the ref wasn't even counting him out. It was really bizarre, and it just went on too long. And then the middle portion of the match was just too slow. There was a lot of good action overall in the match, but the middle portion really hurt it. Still a good match. Definitely the best match of the night, in my opinion. But it was hurt by the middle portion. There comes a point where Shawn Michaels hit Sweet Chin music on Diesel, but the ref was on the outside for some reason. I forgot to mention that Psycho Sid was with Shawn Michaels also. So he was doing something outside trying to stop Sid from getting involved. And for some reason he hurt his ankle, and he was selling his ankle really hard on the outside. So Shawn's pinning Diesel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Has him down for the count after Sweet Chin music, and the ref's nowhere to be found. He comes back in. Diesel kicks out at 2. When he finally gets back in, and Shawn Michaels is very unhappy for good reason. And then shortly after, Diesel wins with the worst jackknife powerbomb I've ever seen in a WWF ring. I know there was a really bad one in a WCW ring involving the Giant, Paul White, the Big Show, whatever you want to call him, where he almost killed the man, but this was really bad. But you know what? Diesel picks up the win, and it was a good match, but it's just that middle portion really hurt it. It could have been a great match without that, so what a shame. I can't say enough. It was so close. Okay, and finally we have the main event of the show, and I cannot believe that this main event at a WrestleMania this far into the run of WrestleMania. If you told me this is main evented one of the first 5 WrestleManias, I wouldn't have batted an eye. I mean, it would have been weird, but I wouldn't have found it insane like I do now, because this is the mid 90s. We're more than 10 years into WrestleMania here. The main event is Bam Bam Bigelow with the $1 Million Corporation, who is Ted DiBiase, the Ultimate Fighting Machine, King Kong Bundy, IRS, and Nikolai Volkov versus New York Giants legend Lawrence Taylor. That's right, an NFL football player is main eventing WrestleMania in 1995. And he has a bunch of random football players I've never heard of with him at ringside. So, I don't know. This absolutely should not have main evented WrestleMania. It should have been the WWF title match. I don't understand what they were thinking here. I guess because it was such a big mainstream thing with Taylor, but still. I will say Taylor was not terrible. Like, he was decent for a non-wrestler. Like, he did some decent stuff. But the action wasn't special. It wasn't anything where I was like, wow, this is a really great match, you know? I mean, how could it? It was a football player versus a wrestler. I don't understand the thought process here yet again. And honestly, I don't really get it. Bam Bam hits his signature moonsault, and then he has him down for the count, but he rolls away. After he gets like a 1 count, then he rolls away and starts selling his knee. I don't understand. Like, just beat him. But no. Of course, Lawrence Taylor gets the win after hitting like a shoulder block / forearm type move. I don't even know exactly what it was. From the middle rope. And he pins Bam Bam clean in the center of the ring. 1, 2, 3. And a football player defeats a professional wrestler at WrestleMania in the main event clean. This really rubbed me the wrong way. I am not a fan of that outcome at all. That's just silly. I mean, I can understand it happening maybe on an undercard match. You know what? I don't think it should happen at all. But if it's going to happen, don't let it happen in the main event. This just makes wrestling look bad. The match itself was alright. You know, it was fine. But the finish was horrible. What a shame. Just overall, this pay-per-view was extremely lackluster. Very forgettable. Definitely not at all a very good WrestleMania. It was short. It was under 2.5 hours. Only 7 matches. And it's definitely not going to be remembered as one of the better WrestleManias of all time. At all. Oh, that's all I gotta say. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe to us here on YouTube. Like and comment on the videos. Please follow us on Twitter at Deep Six Wrestling. Like us on Facebook, also at Deep Six Wrestling. Have a glorious day. Thank you guys for watching.